it's been a roller coaster, of course, working with Gen Zs, because I started receiving hard questions. You know, ukichelesha Gen Z mshahara kidogo, they send some emojis, you know, yawning. They're hungry.
Greetings, great entrepreneurs. Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Blueprint with Antony Njagi. So I hope you are doing well, and welcome to this YouTube channel. This is where great entrepreneurs will thrive and will build their businesses. So just to start, I saw a funny quote, a funny meme, but it really made sense that if you want to start practicing trusting God, then you have to become an entrepreneur. So today with me is Antony Njagi. He is an author and he is the CEO of Altocom Technologies. So I will invite him to tell us something just before we get rolling. Welcome so much.
Thank you, Lillian. Good to be here. And thank you for the good work that you're doing with your Touching Lives podcast. As you've rightly introduced me, I'm an author. I've written 3 books on entrepreneurship. The first one is What Kenyan Entrepreneurs Never Tell You. The second book is The Street Smart Entrepreneur. And the third book is Thriving Entrepreneurs. I also lead my team at Altocom Limited, where we sell computers and a host of IT products. And yes, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, great. So in your previous interview with MR Media, you said that you have been in business for over 10, 11 years now. And you said you write basing on your experience. Right now, word around town is about Gen Zs. So in your more than 10 years experience in business, have you interacted or had time to even have staff who are Gen Zs, and what has been your experience with the famous Gen Zs?
Wow, thank you. Yes, very interesting question. I have been in business for the last more than 10 years. I have had occasion to work with millennials. I have had occasion to work with probably 1 or 2 of the older generation. And yes, I have worked with Gen Zs. I think currently I'm working with 3. And yes, I have worked with Gen Zs, and I'm currently working with some.
So how has your experience been? Should people really hire Gen Zs, or they shouldn't even think of bringing them on board?
I almost say that you should hire them at your own risk. But then I think I have some wonderful Gen Zs that I'm working with. And my experience has been that Gen Zs are, well, I now that you asked, I think I'm now thinking about it. The Gen Zs I work with, I hope all Gen Zs are like that. I work with some very innovative fellows. I work with people whose thought processes are highly processed. I mean, what the quality of thoughts that they bring on board are what I would call highly processed thoughts. I am working with people who look at things very differently from the way I probably have been looking at them. And I work with people who have brought a lot of, I mean, even institutional change in terms of I've learned to reimagine how we've always been doing things, because there's a way in which, you know, sometimes when somebody demonstrates that something can be done differently, even when you thought that it could not be done, then suddenly you start catching up. So it's been a time of catching up, and it's been a time of, you know, even having structures. I remember the first time I was engaging 2 for a management trainee program. The first question they asked me is, what exactly do you want us to be doing? What are the deliverables? How will our week be looking like? And I just told them to give me some time to bring on board the deliverables. What they didn't know is that is when I went to, you know, do research about deliverables. And when we brought them on board, we became actually slaves to the same, good slaves, because they help us to know what we are willing to accomplish, and when it's accomplished, you can actually see that indeed it was important for us to spell out what we intend to do even before getting and going ahead to do the same. It was still after my experience with working with Gen Zs that I started working with work plans, you know, how will my 8 to 10 look like, 10 to 4, I mean 10 to 12, 12 to 2. So my day is actually divided into, my work day is divided into 5 subsections. I know what I'm supposed to be doing from 8 to 10. I know what I'm supposed to be doing from 10 to 12, from 12 to 2, from 2 to 4, from 4 to 6. And there's nothing as fulfilling as actually ticking those boxes and seeing that what I had planned to do in this time frame, I actually did it. So I've seen a lot of innovation, and I remember one time, as part of the deliverables that we had put, I tasked them to be, you know, even reading particular books every month, to be watching some particular YouTube videos on self-improvement, because every month we'll be having a theme that we are running with. And I remember one of them one time telling me that you can't just be telling us to improve ourselves, you also need to be on board. And that was a challenge, because I found myself also having a very structured way of reading, a very structured way of knowing what I'm watching. Like this month we are concentrating on learning about delegation, so my effort is focused on, you know, learning as much as I can about delegation. I'm reading on delegation, I'm watching YouTube videos on delegation, and this is because of the challenge that I have found from Gen Zs, because Gen Zs are very intentional, they know what they want, they know how to get it, they only need guidance and support, of course financial support mostly, but I have seen that they are innovative people who can actually re-engineer even the vision of an organization if they are given the latitude and given the space to implement what their very sharp minds processes and from time to time.
Nice. I think now we can recruit you to be one of the
I'm a Gen Z at heart.
Yeah, because wewe utasalimiwa. We have seen you are our champion. So just to ask, how do you balance traditional workplace values? Because they have been there, and well, of course, for Gen Zs, I saw somewhere that they don't like working from 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. So how do you balance the traditional workplace values with the innovative? You have said they are innovative, so how do you strike a balance? Because sometimes we tend, or Gen Zs tend to be people who know what they want and they want it done just the way they want it. But again, there is the workplace values. So how do you get to strike a balance between the traditional workplace and the innovative Gen Zs fire?
First, let me start by clarifying that millennials are among the most innovative people that I've also had the pleasure of working with. But I love the new energy that Gen Zs come with, because they are people who have been born in the information age, and you know, we call them digital natives. These guys were born into technology. So even when you are communicating with them, it makes more sense for you to, you know, like chat, do that kind of post stuff. But you know, the millennials where I belong, we prefer more of, you know, face-to-face calls, the reasoning why this, you know. But I think with Gen Zs, I've seen that if you want something done, put it clearly in a WhatsApp message, put it clearly in an email, put it clearly in some digital kind of platform. Because even the deliverables that we've been having, we actually do the deliverables on Google Sheets, and these sheets have like some check boxes. If this thing has been done, it's checked, it's online, it's not like papers we are printing. And also, you know, the weekly plans, they also have to be put in a digital space, sort of. And I think that saves a lot on paperwork, and it helps you to have real-time tracking, because if somebody does his job or her job at 11 in the night, that's when they will tick that it's done, as opposed to if we had files and files in the office, and you know, people have to come and ask for their file to fill in what they did yesterday. So with Gen Zs, I've realized that things are more real-time, Anasema mambo ni live. And I have enjoyed the working, the innovation of the Gen Zs. However, the millennials as well, as it were, who the Gen Zs now would consider in this case traditional, come with an aspect of consistency, which is very important. And I think millennials are quite dependable also. You know, Gen Zs are always looking for the next job, and you know, they may be working with you, but they also have brands that they're also growing. They don't put their eggs in one basket. So I think it's a question of appreciating. For me, it has been a question of appreciating the unique strengths that the older, in quotes, generations also bring on board. Appreciating the fact that you know, even for you to have a business, there's need for consistency in terms of what time do I open, what time do I close. Of course, the Gen Z will want to be told these are your deliverables, work at whatever time. But we can't be running a supermarket at whatever time, for instance. So we'll need a people who will be there, the 8 to 5 as it were, but we'll also need a people who can work on deliverables. So it's a blend. Actually, there is no generation that can do without the other in this case, because the Gen Zs can only run on existing structures, in my experience. And when these two are harnessed, then you find that it's a very healthy and a vibrant blend of ideas, blend of energies, and blend of possibilities. So for me, it's been a roller coaster, of course, working with Gen Zs, because I started receiving hard questions. You know, ukichelesha Gen Z mshahara kidogo, they send some emojis, you know, yawning. They're hungry. But with the millennials, I think there's an aspect of patience. But all in all, it helps us to. It has helped me to have a deeper reflection in terms of maybe even the older generations could be suffering in silence. It's only that the Gen Zs voice it out, because according to them, they fear very few things. Yes.
You don't want to go there.
I don't want to go there.
Can you share a moment where a Gen Z team member taught you something that changed your perspective completely? Because word has been around town that Gen Zs, they're lazy, you know, but you're here saying they are good people, they are people you can work with. So just one that maybe will change how people look at Gen Zs. This might save a lot.
One time I gave Gen Z some attachment work, and when the lecturer was coming to assess them, he asked the guy, so since you joined Altocom, what is it that has changed? What it is that they were not doing, that they are now doing because you are there? I don't want to give the answer, but I realized that sometimes after you work with people, you can only tell the impact that they've had when you look back at what you were not doing before, and you're doing it right now. And as I said earlier, I never used to work with work plans. I was the kind of a person who comes to work, but right now, even as I'm taking this video, I know it's within my work plan, and I'm getting bothered if time spills over, because I know at this time I'm supposed to be here, then I'm supposed to go to the next thing. Of course, flexibility is what makes us human, as one Maureen Wangui says. But even with that flexibility, it's a little bit of flexibility, but majorly working on a structure. So one of the things that I have seen is that there are many things that I did not used to do. I never used to do data analysis. I never used to really be keen on the data that we get for free. In terms of sometimes a customer comes and tells you they are coming from a particular organization. It never really used to make sense until now with the Gen Zs, they start asking you, what can you see? What is the trend? Where do you see most of your customers are coming from? And now when you start analyzing that, then you start realizing that there are particular organizations that are more of your customers than you thought was the case. They will also help you to, I've also learned that because of the data, I can actually tell there's a customer who visited last year, they have not visited us this year, we may want to call them. And the Gen Zs I've been working with have been even volunteering to make those calls. If a customer has been away for quite some time, they see that as a data point and something that needs to be addressed. you know, when we want to have a customer reward system, they will say, can we work with data? Can we see who is this customer, who is one of our top customers, not just by guesswork, but actually by in terms of the value of business that they are bringing on board. So there are many things that my mind has been open to, and of course, even as we have been reading together with them, because I also now have to read a lot. I just remembered the current book that I've been reading, a book called Who Not How, in terms of when you want to get something done, instead of getting worried about how you should do it, how you can do it, ask yourself the right question: who can do it? And I think that has freed me up, because I've realized that when you think in terms of who can do something, you actually what drags you could be an energizer to somebody else, and that helps me now to, you know, assign roles to the right people and worry about the right things that I should be worrying about. So when I look back, as I answer that question, I see there are many things that I did not used to do, which I now do, because of the questions, the hard questions that the Gen Zs have been asking, and because of the insights that they have been bringing on board, and of course because they have made me alive to the fact that there are so many tools of technology that we can use in business, even to get meaningful information out of data that we already have.
Wow.
Yes.
Gen Zs are good people.
Your words, not mine.
They are good people.
Yes.
The ones you work with, that is. We hope that all of them are like that. So maybe a parting shot, because you have said a lot, and probably you may just want to say the last words as we bring it to a close, so that we now get rolling with Gen Zs in the workplace.
Awesome. A parting shot. I want to imagine that this has to be Gen Z related. Probably the only thing I can tell Gen Zs is that one day you'll also grow old. So respect those who are ahead of you. But it's important to realize that even as you bring on board innovative ideas, those ideas can only run on structures to an extent, so that we also appreciate people who have gone ahead of us and the wisdom that they have, because out of that wisdom, then even your ideas as Gen Zs can have the most impact. In lives, and that positive energy is key, but it's important that also positive energy is guided, so that you know, there is a sustainable realization of the goals and the dreams and the aspirations that Gen Zs bring on board. One thing I'm so happy about is that Gen Zs have this capacity to reimagine things, and things that probably the millennials, the Gen Xs thought should always remain as they were. Gen Zs have a way of imagining that things can be done differently. And I think we've seen that even in the political arena, that the Gen Zs have imagined that we don't have to be stuck to what has always been done. We can do things differently. It can be done, and it's possible. So that zeal, keep it up. Keep that zeal up. Yes.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. We hope that you will keep on following on the next videos on entrepreneurship, and this will be a very great journey, especially if you are an entrepreneur or you aspire to be an entrepreneur. So see you on the next. Bye.
Bye-bye.